Hello, everybody. Welcome to our third and final in our assistive technology series. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about smart home technology. And like every other technology webinar we do, I think it's safe to say we'll touch on things. I don't know that we'll go super deep into everything, but hopefully, you leave here with a couple ideas of things you could look at, things to explore, things to try that maybe you hadn't heard about before. So again, thanks for being here. We'll jump right into it. That's me. We are the ATAC team. Jesse is in the chat, and I am here chatting with you. So if you have anything to share, please feel free. Drop it in the chat. If you would like the slides, they are at that scan me QR code. You could scan that on your phone right now to get the slides. I will also drop the link in the chat if that is easier for you. That'll give you the slides as well. And we say to people, it's worth getting the slides. There's links in there. This one today has some videos embedded in that show kind of smart home technology working for people with disabilities. I don't know that we'll get to all the videos today. I put them at the back just in case we had time. I'm going to guess we probably won't. So please check out the slides when you're done. Check out those videos. They are kind of peppered throughout the slides, and then there's a handful of them at the end just to give you some additional information to go forward. Real fast, who are we? I promise real fast. I always say real fast, and then this takes long, so I'm not going to make it long. It's one slide. Let's see how we can do. We are the Assistive Technology Advocacy Center at Disability Rights New Jersey. We are New Jersey's Assistive Technology Act program. So we're federally funded, similar to the programs in every other state and territory. Our job is to make sure that people across New Jersey understand what assistive technology is, how it can help them, and where to get it. We don't sell any technology. We don't recommend technology. What we do is we help people make connections to tools that meet the needs that they identify. So we're strictly helping them navigate this field of technology innovation. We do that a couple ways. You'll see that there's 4 pieces on our slide here. We do device demonstrations, which involves people reaching out to us or our subcontractors, stating that they have a need for something, assistive technology. They're unable to complete some kind of task. We will meet with them, talk with them, show them some tools that perhaps will meet those needs and empower them to make a decision. We are not the decision makers in that process. We are simply helping the person be equipped with the understanding and the knowledge they need in order to make that decision. We also host a device loan program. We do that through Advancing Opportunities. And what that is a program that allows you to borrow assistive technology for 3 weeks at a time and try it out. There is no cost for that program. You go to our website, at4nj.org. It will send you over to Advancing Opportunities, and you can visit the loan program's website, which has all the tools that they have available for loan. You can see what they are, see the pictures of them, understand what those tools are. Again, the idea here is to try to empower people to make good decisions, not buy things that then need to be returned, but instead buy, hopefully, fingers crossed, the right thing the first time. By being able to try it, kind of get over that hump of this thing is amazing, all the way down to this thing's okay, or yes, I think this thing is pretty great. So we want to get people from that honeymoon moment of everything is awesome to yes, this works, or no, this doesn't quite work. And the loan program allows us to do that. We also host a device reutilization program. We partner with Goodwill Home Medical Equipment, which is down in Belmar in the Camden County area. And they collect used durable medical equipment from the community. They repair it, replace broken parts, fix things, clean them up, sterilize them, do all those great things, and then put those devices back out in the community for a significantly reduced rate. So if you know someone who is in need of some durable medical equipment, but perhaps does not have medical insurance funding for certain things, you might be able to get some things there at such a reduced rate that the person may be able to afford that tool. definitely check them out as well. All of this lives on our website. And then finally, training, which is what we're doing today and any of the things we do. We have conferences, workshops, webinars, different kinds of trainings. We participate in conferences around the state. So definitely check us out. Go to our website. Everything lives there, and links to everything we're doing live there, including our YouTube channel and any of our upcoming webinars, any of our upcoming events. All lives there. If you have one link, that's the link, and it'll get you everything you need as far as what we do. All right. I feel like that was the fastest I ever did that. It's only 5 after. That's pretty good. All right. Let's talk about smart home technology, things we can use in order to support someone in their community place, whatever that is, wherever they are. I'm going to leave that kind of where that person lives broad, because I think a lot of these things could be used in any number of locations, in any number of environments. I think as we look at the tools, the one thing we probably won't talk a lot about, but if you've seen me speak at any other spot, I feel very strongly about, it's the process piece of it. The tools are great. How do those tools get placed in environments, and are they supported so the person can be successful? And that part will change depending on the environment the person's in. Now, if it's something about using technology in your own home, well, I'd say that's pretty loose. I'd say you could probably do whatever you want. It's your house. Do what you want. If we're talking about individuals being in other community settings, group homes, supported apartments, these kinds of things, there may be other considerations you would have to talk about with a team and make sure that that's something that can be supported in that environment. So that's kind of my little yeah, but to all this. Like, yeah, these things are great, but how does that look in your environment? I think those are conversations that have to be had with the individual who's looking to use these tools and the team around them supporting them. All right, so I got that part out. Let's talk about some stuff. Use what you have. It's interesting when we talk about this idea. I thought I would bring back the Wayback Machine cartoon, because why not? Why wouldn't I? Because that's pretty fun. What we're really talking about is assistive technology tools that used to be called environmental control units. 90s, early 2000s, environmental control units. These were devices that were upwards of $15,000 and provided some support in the environment, maybe not even to the level we have today. So that's where we started with this idea of kind of home automation and smart home control for people with disabilities. Where are we now? Well, now we have this ability to bust this myth and say, these tools are not nearly as expensive or complicated as they used to be, because they are consumer electronics now. You're looking at two pictures on the screen. The picture on the left is kind of the slate of Amazon Echo products. The picture on the right is some of the Google products, with their Nest Home products. Used to be called Google Home, now they call it Nest. Ultimately, these are off-the-shelf tools that are voice assistants that also provide us with smart home capability. So now we're at a point where what was $10,000 to $15,000 and was very complicated and probably needed a person to come help you set it up, now we're at something where I can go on Amazon as soon as we're done, order myself up in Amazon Alexa. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's less because we're getting close to Black Friday now. Who knows? And that tool has embedded in it options that could help me control things in my environment or sync to other consumer electronics, smart home tools that I can also buy from Amazon. I'm very fond of saying to people, once you have a plan of what you want to control, there's a very real possibility you might be able to make that plan happen for less than $200 now, depending on the complexity of what you're looking for and kind of the extent of what you want to control. That's a very real possibility now, and that's really exciting. That's a really interesting and just kind of, I was trying to think of a better word than awesome, and I don't have a word. An awesome opportunity for us when we're thinking about assistive technology and tools for people with disabilities. So I'll ask you in the chat who has one, and more importantly, what's the thing you do with it? If I said to you, what's the one thing you can't live without with your voice assistant in your house? What is it? Feel free to drop it in the chat. What do you use that for if you have one? As you're thinking about that, these tools, by the way, also live in our lending center. So there are tools that can be loaned out that you could try. Loaning out these things are a little trickier because they do need to be connected to an account. So what someone has to do is make their own account to create the demo to try this during the trial period. So there's a couple steps there, but Tammy has a couple Echo Dots. Use them to listen to music and for reminders. Tammy, there it is. That's what mine does. That's what mine does almost all day long. It's mostly listening to music. It has some reminders built into it. I have mine synced to my cameras that I can see my driveway if I wanted to. Not that I do, but I could. Beth says we have an Amazon Alexa. I wish we used it more. My son is nonverbal, but it does recognize his iPad voice. Interesting. And that's really interesting, Beth. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to show something as we go because that's been one of the, I'm not even going to call it a struggle yet because there are ways around this, but that's one of the hiccups of these voice assistants is that in order to use them effectively, we need consistent voice output. I'm just going to leave it at consistent at this point because I think that there are voices. What we find that a lot of these voice input tools, they are, if they could expect it, but I'm going to use that term even though I'm humanizing them. They are expecting kind of this generic. A lot of times, what they program these voices for is kind of a generic Midwestern non-accented voice. That's how they train tools like this. And then what happens is as more people use them, the voice file evolves and then it recognizes more voices. And that happens over time. If there was one thing that's been slightly disappointing in the way that technology has advanced, is we've lost a lot of the capability for us to physically train one of these devices to know our voice. Like I wanted to know how I say certain things. We don't really have that functionality. And so we look for other things. I think Beth uses a great example there of perhaps using a speech generated out of a device. So the text to speech voice out of a device, that'll be very consistent. And it'll be kind of a non accented voice that the tools will use and recognize pretty well. I think those are really little workarounds that we have to think about as we go forward and talk about these. Sheridan says I use it so much. Reminders, timers, music, recipe suggestions. You're using it a ton. Cooking assistance, weather, announcements to the household. So being able to use it like a PA across the house, which is an awesome thing too. Jesse says I use my Amazon tablet for searching with my voice. Perfect. Cindy, I have an Echo Dot, but use it for music, but bought a smart plug to start learning more, but that and haven't set it up yet. Those are great next steps, right? I think as we think about it, Cindy, that's a good next step. Like, oh, I'm going to now connect it to this device and make this device in my house smart. Announcements to the household. I'd like to hear about that. Sounds useful. Yeah, in the Amazon Alexa tools, you can set that up to where you can make an announcement, and as you have multiple ones in the house, your voice will come out of the other ones. So instead of screaming through the house, if you have these devices set up throughout your home, you can make an announcement. I think the command is Alexa, make an announcement, and then just say it. I'm pretty sure that's it. Don't hold me to that. I'm sorry if one of your devices is now talking. So thinking about what we use them for, that will lead us into how can we extend our use of these. So, there are devices that are out there, and I'm trying to be thoughtful in my pictures here of showing you other devices. I want to make sure I show you the Google tools, the HomePod tools from Apple, and the Amazon products. But a lot of times we're talking really about the first two groups here, the Amazon Echo and the Google Nest or the Google Home products that are now called Nest. I don't see as many home pods. Those are the Apple tools. I just don't see a lot of those. And we can see from this kind of graphic here, which was from 2020. So I'm sure this changed a little bit, that the home pod from Apple only made up 2% of the actual devices that people had. And so a lot of what we're talking about is Amazon Echo tools. And ultimately, here's the age-old assistive technology question: which is better? To have $1 for every time somebody asked me that, I would have maybe $15. No, I don't know. I'd have a considerable amount. But this idea of which one's better, and my answer always is, it depends. This takes that person a step back and say, what is it you want to do? You know, there are points where, and trust me, I'm as guilty of this as anybody. I might be more guilty of this because I work in technology. I'm an early adopter. Something comes out, it looks cool, I'm probably going to buy it, and then I'm going to figure it out as I go. And I'll always have that kind of backup of, well, I work in technology and I need to know things, which makes me feel better about it when I spend money on things that I don't necessarily need. But when people are thinking about systems to put in their home, and you don't have the luxury of the comfort of saying, I work in tech, so it's okay if I own these things. This is the moment where you start to have a conversation of, what is it I want to do? Some of our first statements with people when we work with them with demos is, what are you looking to accomplish? What are you trying to do that you can't currently do? What are you looking to control? Same thing with these tools. What are you looking to control? That's why I asked you that question. What do you use it for? Thinking about, what is it that you're looking to do, and start making a list. I want to control the lights in these couple rooms. I want to be able to make announcements throughout my house. I want to be able to control security cameras or unlock doors, and start going through and just brainstorming, what is it you're looking to accomplish here? And then this is like a two-step process. Make that list. The list is the brainstorming. Just get it all out. I don't know. These things sound cool. This sounds cool. I like the idea of this. Then go back through that list and say, what do I really want to do now? And then what would be great if I could do it in kind of a second level of these things, kind of a second tier, a next step. That's when you start deciding what works for you. And quite honestly, sometimes the thing of which is better is dictated by, someone bought us a Google Nest home and I have that. Okay, well, then let's work with that for right now, until we can't. So maybe the thing already came. I see a comment. Lori puts a comment in the chat. I did see it, Lori. I was debating on how to answer it. Lori's comment and question was, or question, do you know if DDD budgets cover these items? That is a great question. I do not know. In some of the talks that I've been in, where we started talking with DDD and support coordinators and government groups about getting technology in the budgets, there seems to be this like moment where, in order to get any technology, you must have an evaluation for it. I, as not a value, and since I'm not an evaluator anymore, I tend to lean on, if I've tried something and I had a designated task I wanted to accomplish, I tried it, and here were the results, and I'm the manager of my own budget, and I say this makes sense, why wouldn't you be able? So, Lori, I don't think so. But what I would say is, and this is what I would say to anybody about any tech, talk to your support coordinator, have these ongoing conversations, and keep having the conversation. Don't have it once and feel like, all right, that didn't go well, never mind. Keep having it, because I don't know that there's any real solid rules. I think a lot of this is kind of hard and fast things people have done. And that just, in my mind, gives us the ability to kind of be flexible and be like, well, why don't we try this and see what happens? Um, you know, Ask them about, I've demoed something, I've tried it in my home for 3 weeks, and I have kind of trial data to show whether it worked or not. And I wanted to do these X number of tasks, and now I was suddenly able to do them independently using these tools. those are pretty hard to argue as far as whether something is an appropriate use or not. And so I would continue that conversation. Sorry, Lori, for kind of the non-answer there, but I think that's probably the safest non-answer at this point. When we think about how we go forward with these tools, this is very much what I was just describing to you: is having a clear understanding of what you want and why you want it. And so I'm sharing with you an assessment model that we use in assistive tech called the HAT model, which looks at the human, who that person is, what they can do, what are their needs and abilities, what are their likes and dislikes, what are their skills, what are areas that they need support in, that kind of human aspect of it. What is the activity they're looking to complete? That activity is that list I just talked to you about creating. This is what we want to do. And then the assistive technology. Does the tool you're talking about match the person's needs and the list of what they wanted to do? If it does, then you have a good match. If it doesn't, or you're not clear on how that connection happens, it might not be the right tool, or you might have to have more conversations about it. Whenever we do a demo or we talk to an individual and a family and a team, whoever it is we're talking with, we're doing this kind of behind the scene in our heads. Like, this is what our thought process is when we ask a lot of questions to people, to get a better understanding of what it is they're trying to do. Because there are many times people come to us and they say, I want that thing, whatever that thing is, that's the one they want. And if you ask why, well, someone else got it and it was great. A lot of times I want to add into the last part of that sentence, it was great for them. Is it going to be great for you? That remains to be seen. You know, technology, especially assistive tech, is not a one size fits all. Something could work great for me and be horrible for Jesse. Work in the same team, we see the same tools, they're not going to work for us the same way. And I think that's really important for people to remember. This is a process, and don't just jump on the next shiny thing that comes out. Says the guy who just told you he jumps on the next shiny thing when it comes out. But think about that when you're trying to be thoughtful in the way you approach technology. Let's look at a couple. And again, I think that we'll look mostly at Alexa things and then some Google things. Maybe an Apple thing might pop in. What do you do with your tool? I smashed your questions together. I smashed these questions together before to get you in the chat once. So we've already done this. What do you do with it? Here's a list off of an infographic. Listening to music is one of the biggest things. Asking questions. That can be an incredibly powerful use of these tools. I ask the one in my kitchen questions all day long. Sometimes I get good answers, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's a frustrating experience, but I keep asking. You know, thinking about setting a timer, setting an alarm. All of these things we can do with this. When you start thinking about what is it I want to do, lists like this could help you, because this is giving you an example of what these things do. Can I access a calendar? Can I call someone on these? If you have some of the devices with screens, they have a video call feature where I can connect with other people and do a video call through them, like we're doing now through Zoom, but I can do that on my device. That can be a real excellent step in independence for someone out in the community, if they can connect visually with someone that provides them support at a distance. And so those are the kind of things that we look at. Control smart home devices, if you can't see it on the list there, is pretty much right in the middle, if not in the lower half of what people do with these. And that, to me, is the sweet spot of what we're looking for right now, is how do I control my device with these tools as I go forward? What's made this really powerful? And this will be kind of in the weeds. If you don't know, I'm an engineer by training, so I like the weeds a little bit. So I'm going to only go in here for a second. Over the past several years, we've seen manufacturers combine their efforts and create what amounts to a home automation standard, so that whether I buy an Alexa or a Google Home Nest or Google Nest Home, um, and I go to Amazon and buy a smart plug to plug something in, that plug will work with both devices. It's not going to be specific for one or the other. That's the beauty of this, where we've seen this field kind of explode out, is that many of these tools have functionality that work across these platforms, which is huge. Anytime we get kind of an interoperability where things work, just regardless of what I have, that's awesome. So that's a nice thing for you to know that's happening. I don't know that you need to go deeper in this than that, but just know that that's what's happening, is that these companies are working together to make sure they don't care what your hub is, because the other things will work. Now, with that said, little asterisk next to it, Amazon will sell you things that are specifically connected to Alexa or have Alexa built into it. That is an Amazon thing. But if you're looking for kind of broad strokes of smart plugs, smart lights, these kind of things, those will work across. So think about that. Anything that you go to Amazon and it is Amazon branded with some kind of voice control aspect, that is an Alexa tool built in there. Just so you know. So we talk about Alexas a little bit. They come in all shapes and sizes. I throw them all up here because, and someone mentioned they have a couple of the Amazon Alexa dots. I have a couple of them too. I have one that's so old it doesn't even look like any of these. They come in and they change these all the time. That doesn't mean they still won't work. I still have the very first Amazon Alexa I bought, which it looks like a Pringles can. It's the really tall can. That thing still works. So don't get too hung up on I don't have the latest one. For most of the tasks we're looking for, any of them will work. Whether they're the standard kind of dots or the ones without the screen, which is these on this page, or the ones with the screen. This seems to be the ones that are being pushed now a lot on Amazon, for good reason. With the screen, we've added in some functionality there. Now I have a visual component to this as well. I have the audio, I have the voice input, I have the audio out, which I had on the other devices. Now I have video. I can do different video related things, make video calls, connect it to security cameras, go and search things on the web or ask it questions and it gives me video responses. Thinking about what is it we're looking for. The beauty of this is the range of products that's out there. It's kind of got a price point for everybody. From the most basic of the Echo Show, which is the small one, great screen, it works, all the way up to the Show 10. I laugh. Jesse knows the story. I had one of these Echo Show 10s, and I put it in our kitchen because it had this really great speaker and it sounds amazing. But it's kind of big, and my wife made me take it out of the kitchen because it was too big. So now it lives in my office with this really nice speaker attached to it, which is fine. But think about where you're putting things. The Echo Show 15 at the very end is a flat screen that you can mount to the wall. Maybe that's a solution for someone, and it becomes kind of a home automation hub on the wall somewhere, like our thermostats sit on the wall. That could be a solution for you. We mentioned the idea several times of making video calls. I'm not going to play the video because it's really just that person making a call, but using those commands, Alexa call, and then identify who you want to call. It pulls that out of a contact list and makes the video call. Now, that person on the other end needs to have an Amazon account. That becomes a little bit of a trick of using this, is you can do that, but what it's doing is connecting from one Amazon account to another. So that person has to have that. I have seen success where one person calls from an Alexa show, like the person on the left there. The other person answers it in the Alexa app on their phone, and that has worked. So if you want to do it that way, that way that person is connected just through the app. And we'll talk about the apps in a second, the idea that they have kind of the companion app for these tools. The Nest products, same kind of platform where you have some without a screen, some with a screen. And then you'll also see the Nest products are bringing in some of their smart home or home automation tools, their thermostats and their cameras and things like that. A HomePod is screenless. I don't think there is a HomePod with a screen. I don't think there is. And that runs on Siri. So you'll be able to do that. Sorry, I'm looking at my iPad to make sure it doesn't start talking. Same kind of functionality you use with your iPad or your iPhone to have this voice assistant support as you go forward. Thinking about the companion apps that I just mentioned, what can you do in those apps? And on the screen, you have across from left to right the Alexa app, the Home app on your iDevices, and then the Google Nest app. Those can help you set up your tools. They will connect into them. You can add functionality into your account through the apps. It's a lot easier to program some of these supports through the app than it is through the device. So if you look at the far left is the Alexa app, which has a drop down of what are you looking to control? I'm looking to control my Echo, my lights, plugs, and switches, and it gives you a whole list. And then I make those connections that then become voice activated. So doing it through the app becomes really easy as you start to think about what that looks like in your system. Here we mentioned before the idea of using devices to be the voice for these tools. And I think that the comment that was made, hold on, I'm sorry, I want to say who. Beth, thanks. Beth mentioned they're using the voice right out of the iPad, which is awesome. That's a great strategy. If you want to see other tools that will allow someone with what I'm going to refer to now in this voice assistant world as a non-traditional voice. I'm going to leave that just broad like that. I'm not going to say because of this disability. I'm not going to say any of that. Non-traditional. It's a voice that the device is not expecting to hear. What can we do? We can certainly use the voice output of just our devices, type in real quick and have it speak out. We can do that. So all of our devices now have that ability to speak out from text. The other one, this is a tool called Voice It, which allows someone to program a device to understand their voice, and then it speaks aloud for them. So for some of the kind of stopgap ways that I just mentioned before, imagine the process is I'm typing in my iPad, hitting a button, and it's speaking out loud. So the input from my end is typing. With this Voice It app, I've programmed this app to understand my voice. So I can speak and it converts that to spoken voice that the device will listen to. And so it acts as a bit of a go-between between my speaking voice and what the Alexa is expecting to hear. So it allows you to program it, train it to recognize your voice, regardless of how you're saying things. And so this is a really nice kind of in-between tool. If this is something that kind of fits the need of yourself or someone you're working with, I would check this out, Voice It. It actually works really well. I will give the one warning, it's a lot of training. Depending on the voice of the individual, it's a lot of training. When the training's done, though, this running a voice assistant tool becomes seamless. So the individual just speaks and the device recognizes it out of their in-between, which is their phone or their iPad, whatever it is. I won't play the Voice It video, but this great little video on here shows this gentleman using Voice It, which has been trained to learn his voice, and he's living independently. He can speak out into the air in his apartment or his house, and it's converting that voice and giving it to his Alexa. So definitely check that tool out. It's a nice in-between. It harkens back to a time where we used to be able to program our speech devices with our voices instead of kind of, and here's me Old man yelling at cloud moment. It's great that all of our devices allow us to just talk to them and they do something. That's great, as long as my voice is okay for it to do that. Previously, back in the old days, back when I used to walk uphill both ways in the snow to do things, we would have to train these devices to know our voices. So we would speak into them so that it got comfortable with our voice. It knew our voice. It recognized what we were saying. And then it would use that as an input method. Where technology has advanced, which is great, we've lost that functionality. So when we talk about the idea of individuals we're working with hitting this barrier of it doesn't recognize my voice, we've seen that for all the advancements in our tech. There is still a missing piece there for the people we work with. And a tool like Voice It could work, or using an AAC app like Beth had mentioned. Those kinds of things. Using your device to simply speak things out loud could be a solution. If you're thinking about even if the person's not using an AAC app for communication, but they need clearer speech to control one of these voices, download one of the free AAC apps and just create a grid that is all commands for an Alexa. Person doesn't have to use it to talk to individuals in their environment, but if they know they're going to be requesting something from one of these voice assistants, they could use that tool and have that kind of in between. So there's a little strategy for that too. When you think about benefits of smart home, we've touched on some of them already. Do we have the ability to streamline caregiving tasks, increase independence, possibly provide support for reducing isolation and increasing connectivity? We saw a lot of that in COVID. In fact, the federal government expanded our scope within COVID to also work with older adults in the community for that exact reason, reducing isolation, increasing social interaction, making sure people were connected. And so those can be very powerful. Some are disadvantages, and I'll throw some of these out to you too. People who don't like technology, that's a problem because this is all about technology. No Wi-Fi or poor Wi-Fi, these tools work because they're connected to the internet. If there is no connection to the internet, these tools won't work. So that is another environmental conversation that has to happen. What happens when things break? Spoken like a tech guy. I don't say if they break, I say when they break. When something breaks, what happens? When the Wi-Fi goes out and the device needs to be reset, who does that? How does that work? Is the person doing that themselves? Are they comfortable doing that? Do they need support to do that? Thinking about those concerns. Privacy concerns. If Jessie was to come on right now, she would spend the remainder of our time talking about privacy concerns. And I feel that. I get it. Not having things listen, not having things do something in response to a request you have not given. Those are concerns. Having this in a space where private conversations are happening, knowing how to turn these devices on and off so that the person can feel comfortable in the things they're doing. Those are some of the issues we talk about with people when we think about these tools. As we think about controlling things, we'll go through some of these examples. What are people doing with this? A lot of it is control and connectivity, which kind of in my mind also encompasses lighting, security, smart appliances. It's the ability to control devices, control things in your environment. Home entertainment is in there as well, just as important. But thinking about what are we looking to control? We had before that conversation of smart plugs and hooking them up to our devices. That's a good first step. You can see on here, we have a couple examples on the far left is a smart plug. So that plug connects to Wi-Fi and then allows you to control it through your voice. There are Wi-Fi enabled light bulbs. That will do it. You can screw that bulb into any outlet and that becomes a smart enabled bulb. Those could be options as well. All of these things are relatively inexpensive, and I'll call it relatively inexpensive because it depends. Um, you might get lucky, might catch a sale. And last time we were buying these for the center, we caught a sale and it was like 3 plugs for $15, like that kind of deal. And it's like, oh, that's pretty great. We bought a bunch of them because you never know. Uh, but look for some of those examples of when these things go on sale. And again, have a clear thought process of what is it you want to control. Um, don't buy 7 plugs if you only want to control 3 things. You might not need to. So again, that's why making that list becomes so critical of thinking about what is it you're trying to do with these things. Are you trying to control physical switches in your environment? Here is a tool called the SwitchBot. It's a little tiny box that tapes to the wall with double-sided tape, and it controls physical switches. It has a little, I call it a finger, and people hate that I do that, but I'm going to. A little finger that comes out of it and turns buttons on and off. If you can't control them, if I don't have the physical ability to turn the switches on and off, can I do that through the screen of an app with this physical item in the environment? You see the pictures that they show from their website, turning on switches on the wall, turning on printer plugs and things like that. Can I use it to turn on anything physical in the environment? Here's more of our plugs. Here's some other examples of appliances as well. So we have our smart plugs, which is on the left. We have something like a thermostat that is voice enabled, also controlled into or synced up to our voice assistant. So I can control it either way. And then there are appliances. We're seeing this more and more now where appliances have a built-in voice assistant to them. I can give it directions. The two on the right are Amazon branded tools, so they have Alexa built into them. Alexa, microwave the popcorn, and it sets that off. Turn on the coffee pot, those kind of things. So I have that ability to control those with voice. Security tools, which we've talked about a little bit. These are relatively inexpensive, but if someone's living independently, this could provide a level of support for them, whether it's small security cameras, whether it's video doorbells, all of them synced into that platform of the voice assistant. Other things that could be voice controlled or switch controlled. These are voice controlled blinds. And then the SwitchBot company, who we just saw a couple slides ago, they also have this. This is their curtain device. I want to call it a curtain bot, but I don't think that's what it's called. But I'm going to call it that now. Their curtain bot, which basically clips onto the curtain rail, the curtain rod, and through the app, I push a button on the app forward or back, and it crawls across the bar, opening and closing my curtains. So again, something that was physical in the environment has been automated through an app. So if I have control of an app and I'm able to make selections on a touch device, whether that's direct selection, scanning with a switch, whatever that is on the device, that hit is being sent out to the actual device that is doing some physical movement in the environment for someone. Doors, doorknobs, and different ways that someone could, again, secure their space. We see these a lot, and these are getting cheaper all the time. Fingerprint lock, Bluetooth keys, codes, voice assistant, whatever it might be. That could be a function of this door lock for someone. So again, giving them that safety and security. Thinking about cooking. Cooking is an area of a lot of concern for people. Is how do I make sure my loved one or the person I'm supporting, whoever they are, is safe when they're in the kitchen? There are devices that will recognize when the stove has been left on. This is called the iGuard stove. And this will recognize when the stove is on and it doesn't auto shut off for it. Maybe, and you see all there's videos here. I'm not going to play them all. You certainly can go through and play them. The June oven, which is another tool that it's a smart oven, and I can control it through an app, or I can input things on the screen and it will only cook what's in there. It's sensing it as it's cooking. It will not overcook. It will not go on. It will not be left on because it turns itself off when something's done. So it becomes a very efficient way for someone to be independent with cooking. Really cool. And there's a little video.
So can what looks like a,
again, you'll see some of these videos are pretty long, just giving you something to watch, something to check out when we're done. Other things, there's a lot of things, and I'm going to say to you, and I'm not getting anything for this. I don't have an affiliate code. Go to Amazon, do some searching. There is a great amount of things out there that we can co-opt as assistive technology. Motion activated light strips. These are just put on Amazon as a convenience tool, but we might be using these as assistive technology for someone to live independently. Faucets that don't require me to turn the handle to turn them on or lift the lever, but just are motion activated. I just wave in front of it and it turns on, wave and turn it off. These are things that we can use as assistive technology. And so when we start thinking about these tools, when we have our list, it makes this easier for us to go out and start looking for things that maybe are out there that are not marketed as assistive tech. They are not marketed as tools for people with disabilities. They're just out there as a home convenience tool. So what happens with that? We all know this story. The price rockets down and it becomes much less expensive. So that can be very powerful if we know what it is we're looking for. And try those things out. Here's another one. This is a service that someone could sign up for. It's kind of like a remote support service, alarm.com, where it connects through cameras in the environment. It's voice activated. It can be remotely monitored. It sends alerts to that remote monitoring individual if it notices things that are unusual or no movement at all. So it starts to see those things. You'll see at the bottom of the slide here, it mentions an alert. I thought this was interesting, this alert. It alerts you to things like, we've noticed that the fridge hasn't been opened in a long period of time. Is this person okay? And so I really like this idea of finding ways to incorporate technology into an environment to support people as they go forward. Of course, any of these supports and systems like this, a conversation has to be long and ongoing about appropriate abilities to track, when we're tracking, what that looks like, who has access to that, all of those really important conversations that we have to have when we start thinking about remote monitoring and something that is not necessarily initiated by the person, but instead could be initiated by some remote individual. Like this alarm.com example, if I was the remote person, I'm able to turn on any camera at any time, turn it on and off. I don't know how people would feel about that. And so I think there is a conversation to be had and a balance to be struck when we start thinking about what this looks like for someone as they go forward. Hopefully I've given enough kind of be careful and have those conversations, because I think these are conversations. I think anybody could get very enamored quickly with the potential for technology and quickly forget about the person and their privacy and their independence. And by that, I mean their independence from some of these tools. Think about that. Questions as we go. We've gone a few minutes longer. I know these were only set for 45 minutes. I see it's 50, so thank you for hanging on. Questions in the chat, we can certainly entertain them. I'll leave you with a call for action while you're typing those in. Reflect on these things. This is just a standard slide I throw in things because I think this reflection is important to think about what it is we saw today. How can you share something with at least 3 people? That's how people start learning about these assistive tech tools, is that we then become a megaphone out to the people we know. Did you know this thing does that? Did you know this thing exists? Those kind of ways that we can expand people's understanding of the depth of technology and the support it could give. Think about and have lots of conversations about, yes, these tools are cool, but are they appropriate? How would that look in this person's environment? And what support needs to happen to make sure that person can use them effectively? We saw that disadvantages slide of the person that's kind of a technophobe. If someone's a technophobe, I don't know that I'm going to give them a touchscreen device that's voice activated, that's controlling every aspect of their home. I don't know that I would start there. I might work myself there, but I don't know that I would start there. So think about that. Have a system in place if you're looking for one of these devices and kind of a plan to automate a lot of things. Can it be done in stages where it's a kind of a slow roll? Like I get comfortable with the process by controlling this one thing. It made me laugh because we just put our Christmas tree up. And what we do is we tend to plug it into one of these plugs so that we can turn it on from the Alexas. That's kind of the idea. Is there something simple that I could start with, get someone comfortable with the process, then go to the next step, then a next, then some lights, then a thermostat, cameras. Can I broaden that from there? All the while making sure that their support plan is effective so that this is something that is working for them and not against them as they go forward. So as we wrap up, this is the last sorry, I'm looking for the link and I don't think I put it in there. Sorry. This is the last of our 3 series of AT webinars that we're doing with the work, with our work with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. All of these recordings live on our YouTube channel, so you could scan that code. It'll take you to our YouTube channel. Do a YouTube search for ATAC NJ, and you'll find all our videos, not just these, but every other thing we do. Yeah, and so Beth, I saw your question, will there be a link to share with others? Yes, definitely go to the YouTube channel. Later today, tomorrow morning, it'll be posted up there so someone can get to it, so that they can experience the recordings and the links to the resources that were there. So thank you, everybody, for your time today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all your feedback as we go. I really appreciate everything that you're all saying in the chat. Thank you. We hope to see you at another webinar soon. Thanks. Take care.